You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome here.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the center, the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Jennifer Gadberry Hadrys, and with me today is the wonderful, amazing Bernie Austin, our practitioner emeritus and our board member on volunteer wrangling.
Yes.
So if you want to volunteer,
I'm the gal.
she's the gal.
Yes. Well, welcome to y'all. Welcome to you online. And we're very excited because, you know, we think it's the Christmas season, but we know it's the chaos season. So those of you that haven't been here for a Christmas Eve service, it looks wonderful. It slides wonderfully through our mind and our hearts as we enjoy the performance and the music. And behind the scenes, people are running around like the guy from Home Alone. So welcome today. I hope you enjoyed the message, and it is about let there be peace on earth. So there you have it.
Season of Peace. Thank you, Bernie. Next up, we have Mr. Bill Hadrys. I know this guy with the youth and family message.
Good morning. As Reverend Jennifer said, I'm Bill Hadrys with Youth and Family. Oops. All right, I'm ready now. Did you ever notice it's amazing when we realize that everything that has been invented, everything we use, everything we can see, is made of materials that have existed for billions of years. Think about that. Life, our lives, are sparks of creativity. Spirit within us transforms existing matter or materials into a new way to use them. We inherit from previous generations, build from them, and then lay the foundation for the next generation. But not everything is material. Gifts are not always tangible. Have you ever just enjoyed doing nothing? Laying on a beach, looking at the stars, maybe watching a sunset or sunrise? Did you ever think of giving the gift of nothing? That means, the gift of nothing means doing something with someone, or perhaps planning a special time together with someone. Basically, sharing yourself. So what gifts would you like to pass on to the next generation? What gifts do you want to be remembered for? I invite you all to repeat after me. Here in heaven, I give thanks for gifts.
Here in heaven, I give thanks for gifts.
And so it is.
So y'all, Chris is out today. We have the wonderful Alex here. And so if any of the youth would like to come forward, I see we have someone already, but if you want, it's okay. If you don't want to, that's cool too. And we're going to go ahead and sing You Are the Face of God. Here we go. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You You are the face of God. Okay, thank you. Now we got Reverend Karen Mondragon, who will lead us in prayer.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to do that in a reverent way. If the practitioners and ministers would stand up and join me, and anybody who wants to be in prayer, join me in taking a nice deep breath and knowing that we are all irresistible. We are irresistible to our wholeness, and we are irresistible to our Maker, God, Spirit, the great I Am. And know that as we go into life, that this message that comes through Reverend Bonnie today is taken into each and every one of us individually and uniquely as we need to hear it. And Reverend Bonnie is irresistible in her messages and her being. And so just knowing that this holiday season is lights. It's all about lights. And my prayer for all of us is to see the lights in every moment of every second that comes before us, in the chaos and in the trauma and in the pain and in the sadness and in the celebration. It's all light. God is there for us. God gives us what we need to see, whether we want to look or not. It's there. And knowing this and in this prayer, I say, please let us go out into life with open hearts, with kindness and compassion for each other, and even for those who aren't behaving as we think they should. So, without judgment, and in this attitude of gratitude, please join me as I release this prayer into the universal law, and together we say, and so it is.
Thank you. And then please be seated. And Hugh is going to come up and do his reading, and I'll call the choir up in just a minute. You guys are chomping at the bit. I can see that. So let's continue to turn within and just be still and to know and to rest in that divine presence and breathe in and breathe out and allow our hearts to open as we just allow ourselves to be. There's been a lot of talk about chaos this morning. I was feeling it. Perhaps some of you were feeling it. Let's just let that go and be present as we approach the darkest night of the year, as we approach the winter, as we approach the holiday season. Let us be at peace as we open our hearts to listen to the words of our sacred reading.
An excerpt from Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times by Catherine May, written following the experiencing of the winter solstice at Stonehenge. There's a standard take on moments like this. Good old English eccentrics. A bit daft and embarrassing, but harmless, really. We're not keen as a nation on expressions of mass exuberance, unless it's related to football. We're suspicious of the donning of robes and the desire towards ritual. We like our belief tempered with an apologetic quality, a signal of humility. Sermons must bore us. Prayers must be muttered. Singing must be undertaken as a grim obligation, in the quietest possible voice, by people maintaining strict personal boundaries. The seeking of ecstasy doesn't come into it. The following day, I scanned the news coverage to see what I ought to have made of it all. A few of the papers carry photographs of grotesque, wild-looking people in strange costumes hugging stones. The BBC focuses on a parking dispute of which I was entirely unaware. The Daily Star says that we all descended on Stonehenge, as if we formed a mass invasion force from the air. AccuWeather claims that the invisible sunrise was spectacular. It's hard not to think that all the copy was written in advance and pushed out online without much thought, existing only to satisfy readers who will tut and shake their heads at the idiocy of these weirdos. What I saw at Stonehenge didn't strike me as offensive in any way. Maybe some of it didn't suit my personal taste, and some of it left me wondering what was the connection between the place, the belief, and the action. But those things were none of my business, and not a single person made it their business to ask why I was there. Certainly it represented a jumble of different spiritualities, but that struck me as profoundly tolerant. Here was a group of people who were willing to share their chosen place of worship and to respect one another's mode of celebration. They didn't seek the bullying voice of consistency or conformity. They didn't denounce one another as following a divergent path. They just did their thing and let others do theirs. More and more, I find that I'm drawn to moments like this, an uplift in the monotonous progress of the year, and a way to mark the movement to the next phase.
Thank you, Hugh. And so let's turn within once again, not as a grim obligation, as the reading suggested, but in heartfelt preparation for the coming talk and also for the coming season and the coming year. One of the things that we teach in this center is that we are one with love, we are one with God, we are part of that wholeness that contains no parts, that is only wholeness, that contains all appearances of brokenness. And so today, in this beautiful time, we remember who we are. We remember who we are on behalf of ourselves as we center into that heartfelt knowing. And we also remember on behalf of all beings, because truly there is only one of us here. And as we remember for ourselves, we remember for everyone. As we remember for everyone, we remember for ourselves. So let us sing this song on behalf of the entire cosmos. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. Give me a sec. Will the choir come up, please? I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. And let us breathe in deeply. And then exhale, gently opening our eyes in love and in service to what is, as it is, and so it is. Namaste.
Christmas tree.
Let the Christmas spirit ring. Let's keep it ringing. Later we'll have some pumpkin pie and we'll do some caroling. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly. Deck the halls with boughs of holly.
Rocking around the Christmas tree.
Have a happy holiday.
Let's all be happy.
Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. Everybody's rocking tonight.
Let's rock.
Hey, look, it's me. No. If you're curious of what Stonehenge looks like at the winter solstice, there's a picture there. You see the guy and the deer. I thought, how'd they get a deer to show up for their winter solstice? And it was like, oh, no, that's a guy. Got it. Kind of makes me want to go experience it. All right. So I'm Reverend Jennifer. I'm Reverend Bonnie's stunt double today. And so today my talk is Let There Be Peace on Earth. We come up with our talk titles on Wednesday, and I kept getting this. It's like, that's your talk title, Let There Be Peace on Earth. I'm like, oh, no, let's do something else. I was like, no, that's it. And then it made sense after I wrote the talk. So here we go. So winter solstice is coming up this week. It happens on Thursday. And, this is the holiday season. And that's not an accident, right? We have all these holidays happening right now because of the winter solstice. The whole planet, especially the northern hemisphere right now, is celebrating the solstice. Of course, in the southern hemisphere, it's their summer solstice. But so it's not an accident that we have all these holidays happening right now because it's part of being an earthling to celebrate the winter solstice. And what happens is we have the longest night coming up. Now, here in Ventura, we don't experience this picture. So here, winter solstice is kind of an idea, but in other places, winter solstice is real. Like, it's real. I'm not even joking. I was in Colorado for a while, and I didn't experience that as much either. But it's no joke. Like, this is winter solstice right now, in the far north. So they don't have an option. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and beautiful thing about Facebook is we have friends everywhere, and they're posting these pictures, and I'm like, ooh. It's cold here too. It's like 65. I have to wear a sweater. I got my gloves on. But I was talking to my friend, and she was mentioning that people that live like in Wisconsin right now, they're quilting. They have time to be inside because they can't do yard work right now. You're not doing yard work when it's like that, and you have time to be inside. You don't have any choice. So up there it goes. This is right. Doesn't that look nice? This is human hibernating. We don't hibernate like bears or like dormice. The excerpt that Hugh read is called Wintering, and she has this wonderful chapter. I was going to do the whole talk on dormice and the hibernation of dormice, but I thought you guys would be like, why? So it's really interesting, though. Get the book and listen to that part. It's really, really interesting. But this is, I think, how humans hibernate. We go within. It's time right now for us to live off the stores. The natural order of things is that this is the time where we shift from collecting and storing and canning and all of those fun things that we did in the summer. And this is the time where you bust open those cans of fruit that you made 6 months ago. This is the time where you start getting into your stores, and it's when you start using up those stores, because you can't just keep storing food, it would explode, right? So this is the time to use what you've laid up for the winter. It's a time for slowing down. It's definitely a time for sleeping more. If you live really far north, you're going to sleep more. It's just, you can ask anybody that lives up there, that it's dark, and what do we do when it's dark? It's a natural thing for us to go to sleep. Even with all of the lights and electricity and things, and even though maybe our society is like, no, you still have to work 40 hours, people are going to slow down. Productivity drops off. Everybody's sleeping more, and it's a human form of hibernation. So for the neo-pagans, solstices have been celebrated since humans have followed the sun across the planet, and followed the stars. So for neo-pagans, this is the time they call the winter or solstice as the rebirth of the sun, the longest night, and it's when the sun comes back, right? The sun has been disappearing. It's when the sun comes back. They have different wheels of the calendar. They do the same thing with the moon every month, right? The moon goes away, and then it comes back in the full moon. So the solstice, the sun is the whole year calendar, where the moon is like a monthly calendar. So here's the sun coming back, the rebirth of the sun. But what happens is if we aren't really in tune to a neo-pagan lifestyle, we might hear that we're rebirth of the sun. We're going to celebrate the sun. I've seen the summer solstice celebration in Santa Barbara, and it's all about the light. That's all we want to talk about. We just want to talk about the light. It's so great. The light's coming back. And then in the summer, it's the light. This is the best light we have, and it's all about the light. And we don't want to talk about the darkness, which is not healthy when 50% of our time is spent in darkness, right? Although you look at the whole year calendar and you average everything out, and we have 50-50. It's dark, it's light. And for some reason, I'm sure there's lots of psychological reasons, we want to make the dark bad and we want to make the light good, and we only want to celebrate the light. And so we end up celebrating the light at the expense of the dark. And so I want to take these last few days, as the dark is claiming its glory right now, to explore what it would look like if we started celebrating both. And I'm not saying like, yeah, come to the dark side. I'm not Darth Vader. I'm not the Emperor. I'm not that. I'm just saying that there's a balance, and we need to live in balance. And we need to start realizing where we're not in balance. So, of course, I have my own take on the solstice that is maybe a little bit pagan and a little bit science and a little bit random Jennifer 1 in the morning thoughts. So let's look at the winter solstice as part of a continuum. And I love this picture. It's one of my favorite pictures. These little girls on this swing, which totally wouldn't fly in elementary schools now. You're never allowed to do this. You're never allowed to, even when I was a kid, you weren't allowed to stand on the swings and swing like that. I love the reckless abandon, and probably the stitches that happen after this. But if we look at our annual calendar, like a pendulum, the solstices are at the ends of the pendulum. So like, if this is the summer or the winter solstice here, right? So you've gone backwards into the dark. You've gone backwards. And then you have that moment, right? Let's see, I think I have it in here. So right now, that feeling, right? You'll have that feeling of weightlessness, right? That feeling of pause, that feeling of breath, right? That moment. And then that excitement, whoosh, right, of coming back. Gravity pulls you back towards center. And I love this metaphor for it, because it's the solstice is like that. You go back into the darkness, and then you're pulled back into center. Because really, we're here to be centered. We're here to be balanced. We're here to live in that flow. Because if you're not moving, you don't have to balance. If you're a big old boulder, there's nothing to balance, right? You just are. But we're not boulders. We decided to incarnate as people. Obviously, we're all here. So we have come to incarnate to be in balance. And so when we're swinging, how do we balance? And that's what the solstice is. It's time to breathe and to remember that we're really, the coming of the light is really just a coming into balance. It's a coming into being earthlings. So what in this time of the year could possibly knock us off balance? Anybody have any ideas of what could possibly knock us off balance? I mean, I don't know. I've said it a few times, and anybody that knows me knows that this is not necessarily my favorite time of the year. All the shopping and the frenetic and the parties even the good stuff is exhausting, when you're go for a whole month. And so it is sometimes can be difficult to remember that we're here to be in balance. And we're here, all of these things, all of these celebrations are to remember to be balanced when these celebrations feel like they're off-centering. So, how do we live in balance? Surprise. It's metaphor time. I love a metaphor. I think it's because I never really understood them when I was a kid, and then I went to ministerial school, and I'm like, oh, metaphor. Have you heard about metaphor? Have you ever seen this? This is amazing. Oh my gosh, who knew? It's like I Christopher Columbus metaphor. Like everybody knew about it, and I'm like, oh, look at this amazing thing. So here's a metaphor I think is appropriate. So this is the Aesop fable, and I don't expect you to read it. I'm going to read it to you, about the ants and the grasshopper. And this is the oldest version I could find that was understandable, because they have a lot of poetic. But here's the original Aesop fable of ants and the grasshopper. One bright day in late autumn, a family of ants were bustling about in the warm sunshine, drying out their grain they had stored up during the summer, when a starving grasshopper, his fiddle under his arm, came up and humbly begged for a bite to eat. What? Cried the ants in surprise. Haven't you stored anything away for the winter? What in the world were you doing all last summer? I didn't have time to store up any food, whined the grasshopper. I was so busy making music that before I knew it, summer was gone. And the ants shrugged their shoulders in disgust. Making music were you, they cried. Very well, now dance. And they turned their backs on the grasshopper and went on with their work. Oh, jerks, right? Gee, mini Christmas. I'm glad that, the version I saw of that was probably the Disney version when I was a kid. And through the years, the Aesop fables, any of our metaphors, Bible stories, everything gets a little modernized, a little softened. So maybe you've seen this in a cartoon. And in the cartoon I saw, the ants find him freezing, and they bring him in, and then they feed him, because they're so magnanimous, these ants, and they feed him, and then when he perks up and gets warm again, he plays music for them, and then they have a little celebration, and yay! And even in that version of the story, it really bothered me is that the ants are right? The ants are righteous. The ants do all the work, and they do all this, and that grasshopper is a no-good freeloader that has nothing to offer. He's just a drain on their stores, and just out of the goodness of their hearts, they shared. And, but that grasshopper, he's no good, right? That grasshopper is eye roll, right? That grasshopper's going to come back next winter probably and expect more from us. And so what bothers me about that is, again, we're celebrating the light at the expense of the dark. How do we celebrate the grasshopper just as much as we celebrate the ants? How do we acknowledge that the grasshopper was storing all summer songs? How do we acknowledge that the grasshopper was doing what the grasshopper was meant to do? Mr. Bill really wanted me to get into the whole, the purpose of grasshoppers and how they help actually harvest grain. And so shout out to Bill, I did it, there you go. Because my point isn't that you have to be useful. My point is that the grasshopper is perfect. The grasshopper is worthy of love. The grasshopper should not have to beg for its life. I don't know, I guess I have a soft spot for the grasshopper, but, and it surprised me. I was like, because I grew up like, you know, like how do we celebrate the grasshopper and the ants, you know, both? How do you celebrate one without making one wrong? And that's that balance that I'm trying to achieve. Sometimes I fail, but that's okay. So I love that metaphor. And why did I bring up that metaphor? Because there's another, maybe not so distant metaphor that we all have. Families, especially this time of year. Does your family look like this at Christmas? I couldn't pull one of my own family pictures together and get permission, so I had to pull one off the internet. So that's not my family, but I guarantee you I have better ones of my own family. So what about families? I think or friends. I mean, this is the time where we get together. We can't help it. Part of being humans in the Northern Hemisphere is that we all come together. We're inside. We don't have anything better to do. We get together. We share food. So you're going to be exposed to people. We don't get to hibernate like bears or like dormice. You know, we have to interact with people. Sorry, all you introverts, but you know, 'tis the season. So, I would hazard a guess that anybody that has a family, especially an extended family, might have a few grasshoppers in that family. Right? You have the cousin who always is got a deal going, or you got an uncle that maybe is a little cringe in his whatever ideas, and they come rolling into parties, even friends, right? People come rolling into parties and everybody kind of rolls their eyes or tries to slink away from them. Or my favorite is the opposite end, the ants. Right? Maybe we have a few aunts, and I have a lot of aunts because my mom's Hispanic. So I have a lot of family. But the aunts, the ones that come rolling in with their third PhD, or the ones that come in and their middle school child just spearheaded reading to shelter animals, and when they spearheaded that, they actually taught the dogs to communicate with those little pod things, you know, something like that, right? You know, so you have family members that everybody's like, on both sides. So when you find yourself in that situation, if you're lucky enough to find yourself in that situation, how do you celebrate the grasshoppers and the ants? And then who or which? You know, I gave you the big pendulum swing there, right? You know, but when you're rolling your eyes, like who's rolling their eyes at you? That's kind of. And does it even matter? Do you really need to label anybody a grasshopper or an ant? So, again, Mr. Bill, bless his heart. He said I needed to add a personal story in here, and I agreed with him. So here we go. This is a picture of me. And that was the response I was expecting. Thank you very much. I am 5 in this picture. I got those underoos for Christmas. And don't worry, I have other underwear on under there, so I'm not in my underwear in public. It was a big thing with me when I was a kid. I used to double up. I don't know why. It was strange. So that's me, and I didn't have the boots. I didn't have my boots. So I pulled up my socks so I could look like I had boots on. You know, I was all about the outfit then. So that's me. And that little girl right there is just working on becoming the best daughter she could be. That little girl right there was working on making sure that her parents were nothing but proud of her and had nothing to complain about. That was the whole purpose of that little girl's life for a long time. And it worked. It worked really well. My parents could roll into a family function. She just got the highest SAT scores in her high school's ever seen. She just got accepted to the best engineering school on the planet. My parents could roll in and just be like, she's getting married. She's moving back to California. Woo. She's having a baby. My mom, oh boy, I'm gonna be a grandma, and I'm gonna be a grandma before all these cousins. My mom is like, and I'm not, and it wasn't, I'm glad. I was living my life for that. And I was really happy to do that. And I was really happy that my parents were proud of me. And I'm glad I did, right? But some of that veneer, I think, started to chip when I actually had the kids. And I actually started showing up with my parents at family functions because I had moved back to California. And so some of you might, you know my kids. Actually, one of them's some of you have seen my children since they were little, and they were running around this place like maniacs. So I had these crazy ideas about parenting. These crazy, crazy ideas about parenting. You know, I read a lot of books on it, and Bill and I together decided the path we wanted to take, and it didn't really look like anything that my parents had done or anything his parents had done. We had forged our own path in parenting. That was like, so what happens? So what happens when you roll into a family function and your kids are barefoot, and your kids, as soon as they hit a backyard, strip all their clothes off? What happens when you're with your aunties and your 3-year-old picks up what he thinks is a worm and is actually a snake? And the aunties are like, Jennifer, the baby has a snake. And I was like, and at the time I remember Tommy was the baby. Tommy was 1 and Liam was 3. So I thought Tommy had the snake, and I was like, what? And I look out and it's Liam. I'm like, oh no, it's Liam. It's fine. He's 3. He's not a baby. So he's holding up this snake, and I'm not getting near him because I don't like snakes. And so I'm like, hey buddy, what you got? You know? And he's like, it's a big worm. Got this big worm. And I'm like, yeah, it is. That is a big worm. You know what? You know how you don't like to be held too tight for too long? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I think, tell him thank you and put him kind of off in the side so that he doesn't get trampled by the other kids, and just put him off into the garden and away from the house, because, you know, we don't want it in the house, right? And he's like, oh, okay, you know, and he does it. And my mom just looked at me like, what just happened? Like I didn't freak out. Right? I didn't rise to what was expected of me. In that story right there, the aunties and my mother were expecting me to run out and rescue my child from the snake, you know, and it's like, no. And so what happened with that was that I saw that shift. I could see the shift in that, and that my parents maybe weren't as proud of me anymore. It really felt that way. You know, it really felt like, and I could see the shift, and I could feel a shift in my family, like, well, maybe she's not as smart as we thought she was. Like, maybe, yeah. And, but that was okay, because on that pendulum swing, I had swung from wanting to be the good daughter, the good girl, and I had swung to wanting to be a good mom. I was doing my own life pendulum swinging. And everybody here is doing that, right? You know, so I shifted into wanting to be a good mom. And then in being a good mom, what I realized what the pendulum swinging actually was, because being a good mom for me was making sure that my children I didn't infect them with my fears. I didn't infect them with my phobias. I wanted them to develop their own, you know, problems. I didn't want them to own your own problems. You don't need mine. I've got mine. I've got mine tapped down. But so I want them to develop their own. So I wanted to midwife them finding themselves. I wanted to midwife them being themselves. I wanted to midwife them becoming fully realized human beings. And I didn't even care if they were proud of me. I didn't, you know, that was my focus. And so when I was swinging back, I realized that when doing that, and what I really wanted for them, I really wanted for myself. I learned I was midwifing my own life. I was midwifing what I really was. I was midwifing like, yeah, I'm good at engineering, but it's not my passion. You know, I was midwifing that I love my parents. I honor my parents. I love them to death. But their way is not my way, and it was okay. You know, it wasn't a huge like, I hate you, I hate the way you raised me. They raised me beautifully. They raised me as well as they could. So it wasn't like I was attacking them. I was just coming back to center. So That's how we do with our families. So I wanted to show you that story of when you're with your families this year and your friends, take the opportunity to celebrate each person. Now imagine, I wrote here, love them all. I don't know if anybody's raised, I'm raised in a military family too. So, so there's that old adage, right? Kill them all and let God sort them out. It's terrible. It's terrible. Like, I don't know, some of the stuff that runs through my head. But it's like, how am I going to do this? I'm going to love them all. I'm going to love them all. Every person that comes up to you, and not boundarylessly, something like that. But you can have boundaries, but boundaries don't have to be castle walls. Boundaries can be, I can sit and I can talk to you. I can sit and talk to my cousin who is on his third wife, and he's got a new business, and this lawn business is going to take off way better than the pool business, and and I can listen to him, and I can say, I love you. Not out loud, because that's weird. Maybe. I don't know. Depends on how many drinks you've had. But in my heart, I can be like, I love you. And in the stories that he's telling, I can find the love in that. Because if your family member's trying to connect with you, it's because they love you. If your friend's trying to connect with you, they love you, and you love them. So you can find that love center and work from that space. Imagine that every person that comes up to you that's slightly irritating is really just saying, love me. I know that was a reading Hugh did a while ago, that every person you meet, or that Louis Armstrong is saying, I love you, and I want you to love me. And it doesn't look the same for every person because we're not the same, and it's okay. So every person you meet, I love you, and I know you love me. Like I said, internal dialogue. And I want the best for you, and I want to appreciate this time right now together, because this is the time to do it. This is the winter time. This is the time we have right now in this moment. So I'm going to take this moment, and I'm going to connect with you. I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to love you. And you'll be surprised how it doesn't take a lot when you do this. The eye rolling will hopefully go away. I don't know. I'll let you know when that happens. But if they love you enough to deal with your eye rolling, you can love them enough to listen to them, right? So how do we do that? I'm going to go back to the reading. We become profoundly tolerant. And I heard once, who wants to be tolerated? I'm like, and there's a nice idea of you want to be accepting. You want to be accepting. And it's like, I think tolerance is a good place to start. So just profoundly tolerant when you're with somebody. And this doesn't even have to be family members. This could be, the cashier at Target. So share and respect one another's mode of living. Or not share and respect, what does that say? Yeah, it does share and respect one another. So that's the talking, right? And in the reading, it was celebrating, but it's living. People are going to live their life, and it may not look like you want or you think it should look like. It's none of your business. It is absolutely, right now, I'll tell you right now, it is absolutely none of your business how your uncle treats your cousin. It isn't. So respect their mode of living and share, have a conversation. If you really, you can share how you treat your own children, and maybe they'll hear it because you've heard them. I love this one. Don't seek the bullying voice of consistency or conformity. Again, it's another one, right? And that is, right? It's that keep yourself in the box, or keep your cousins in their boxes. Trust me, my whole family, when they found out I was going to become a minister, were like, what? What's she doing now? What? First the crazy children, and now what? So don't let that happen don't do that to anybody else. And just do your thing and let others do theirs, right? So again, we're just back to that. It's none of your business. It's none of your business how they are. But the most important thing to remember about these 4 points, when you listen to these 4 points, you do all of these things for yourself. No? Yeah? Oh, I was like expecting like, oh, come on, people, it's the good stuff. It's you. It's always you. All of this stuff is you. All of this stuff is happening in your stuff, in you. So when you start doing this for yourself, and it's not the oxygen mask thing. Oh my gosh, that thing's been so overdone. You know, that whole like, I know Brene Brown once said you have to love yourself before you could really love somebody else. Hooey. And I know she's way whatever more than I am. I don't care. Hooey. Do all those things for other people, and you'll find you're doing it for yourself. And the more you do it for yourself, you find you're doing it more for other people. And it goes around and around and around, just like the year, just like the big cycle. Love, love, love. And when you can't love yourself, love your pet. And when you can't love your pet, I don't know how that's possible, but, you know, find something else. And then you come back to loving yourself, back to center, every time. And so do all these things for yourself, okay? So we're gonna end with an affirmation, because I like them. So let's all together say this. I celebrate everyone I see, including myself. And so it is. So let's just anchor this affirmation in prayer. Let's love all that love that's been stirred up. Let's let it just keep floating. Let it surround you and hold you. I know that God is all there is in this moment, in everything as everything. This big, giant, loving presence. This big, infinite intelligence. The part that is the darkness and is the light and is beyond both of those things. It is all God right now. And as I know that truth, I know that I speak this word united with that one divine intelligence, that one divine presence, that one divine consciousness. That it speaks this word through this manifestation of Jennifer in this moment. But it also is speaking its love through every single person here, every single person's heart right now. That we are all this divine emanation of love in this moment. And as I know that truth here, I know that truth for every single person out in the community, every single person on this planet, that as we are all experiencing the darkness that's burgeoning on light, that we are experiencing love. I know that that love spreads out across this planet and it ripples into every form of worship, every mosque, every temple, every gurdwara, everywhere. I know that that love is inside fundamentalists. I know that love is inside atheists. It is inside people that have never heard the word consciousness. It is inside every person that hasn't even heard the word love. That love is who they are. And every one of us is meeting to express more love. And I'm grateful to know that truth. Grateful to know God in this moment. Grateful for this beautiful sanctuary and this beautiful time together. And I release my word into the universal law, and together we say, and so it is. And now, time for something completely different.
But is it really? Let there be peace on earth, and
let it
begin with me.
Yeah.
Yes. So I love the chaos of it, and I love the season because I like to look at Peter and I last night, we're down at the harbor Talk about chaos. Oh my God. And he was making faces at the kids, and it was hilarious. So looking for the joy, finding that within my heart, within the moment, and within each of you. And we see it. We see each of you. As you're going through whatever the heck it is, we can find a place of harmony and joy and peace for you, like looking at the dogs that we love, and we can't help ourselves. So let this time be a time of giving, recognizing that space of love and generosity, that space of joyousness that we share together. Let me turn the paper over.
Helps.
Okay, and if you would repeat after me. We trust in spirit.
We trust in spirit.
Love is the giver and receiver of all that we are.
Love is the giver and receiver of all that we are.
We offer this gift.
We offer this gift.
It is an outer expression of our inner abundance and compassion.
It is an outer expression of our inner abundance and compassion.
Our gift blesses many.
Our gift blesses many.
And returns to us multiplied in miraculous ways.
And returns to us multiplied in miraculous ways.
So that we may give again.
So that we may give again.
And so it is.
And so it is.
It's the time to be merry, to smile, be cheery, a wonderful time of the year. When peace on earth, goodwill to all abound. As the showers all hurry, the snowflakes do flurry, a beautiful sound fills the air. As children sing and carols do resound. As we glide through the snow, we will sing to let everyone know it's the time to be filled with good cheer. Sing it out, so the whole world can hear. Just look around, just look and see a world of hope and joy for you and me. May your days be merry and bright. May your dreams all come true Christmas night. And we send out our wishes for you. Yes, we do. Yes, it's true. Dreams come true, and it's all up to you.
You know what? Before I do this, I'm going to invite Brock to come up, and Brock's going to do his announcement because he's waiting. That's the best picture. Oh my gosh. We're going to put that on everything. So Brock's got a concert coming up tomorrow night, and he's going to tell us about it. Yay!
Hi. How y'all doing? Good. Well, I think this is the 9th solstice healing concert I've done here. I think we started in 2015. And how does this happen? Her son, Garrett, was about this high at that point. And I've been saying that concerts are vortex, that a concert is a vortex. And the name of this room is Vortex. And the V is for vortex. Just saying. You want to know how to make a little vortex? Okay, become aware of your heart You might close your eyes, but become aware of your heart. And let your heart be great. Let your heart be big enough to hold all of it. Let your heart be great enough to open to the darkness. Let your heart be great enough to come to some kind of peace with the darkness. And then let the light into your heart. Simply let the light into your heart. Okay? All right. That's a simple way to create a vortex. And the one we're doing on the solstices of every year, the solstice healing concert, is a vortex for the healing of the world. Tomorrow night, 6:30 in this room.
Out. So just taking a deep breath in. Once again, centering into that heart space, centering into that love space, unifying with that one divine consciousness. Every single person here, it's so easy. It's as easy as breathing. Just remember who you truly are. Divine consciousness in this moment. And from that place of remembrance, I know that today is blessed. I know that everybody goes on with their holiday celebrating and preparations in love and in joy and in service, carrying a little piece of this divine vortex with you everywhere you go. I'm grateful to know that truth. Grateful for everybody here that said yes to VCSL on this Sunday or said yes later on YouTube or Facebook. I love every single one of you. And I'm grateful for you. And I release this word into the universal law, and together we say, and so it is.